Aloha Manga Club, it's your boy Lohali signing in with the one, the only, the anime dude. That was a lot of those, but he goes by Jordan. How are you doing today, man?
What's up, Locally? Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
It's a blast to have you on. In fact, I feel like I've been working my way through most of your podcast crew already. I've hit Spooky up this week, I've hit Briggs up, and now it's finally your turn. And I know that I've messed up your Apex Legend tournament 2 days in a row.
It'll be good. We'll hit it later this afternoon. It'll be fun, and yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Like scheduling could be something else. I'm just glad we made it all work.
I'm absolutely pumped that we have as well. So, can you give everyone kind of an overview as to what your channel is and kind of the kind of content that you try to curate for your audience?
Well, my name on YouTube is the Anime Dude, so I talk about a bunch of those Chinese cartoons that people call anime, and I dabble in a lot of different aspects of it. One thing I've done recently is I've started trying to get get a lot of lesser known series out there that I think are well worth watching that people just don't talk about, and so like that's one thing I've kind of tried to do. And then another thing I really like to do is analyzing the characters from both a narrative aspect and a psychological aspect. So I try to change it up every now and then. And if honestly I don't really have any type of schedule or anything like that, if something just seems like something I want to make in the moment, then that's usually what I end up doing. So
And honestly, that's what I do quite a bit. I've said this before. Any video that I start, half the time, the topic that I had in mind when I started recording is completely different by the time that I get done with the video. There was one that I was doing an argument for or against Oda, and I wasn't entirely sure which pathway I was going to take. And by the end, I was like, okay, well, that wasn't exactly where I was expecting to go, but this is where we're at. And I've been looking through your content over the past few weeks, and I've noticed that you and I do some very similar style, like why you should watch or why you should read certain series. And I think that's really, really cool because you're giving different lesser known series this platform. Kind of what prompted you to give these lesser popular series, I guess, this kind of voice that you have?
well, I guess it all started with like there's a few of them out there that I think are well worth watching that just no one seems to talk about, because I'm one of those guys. I've been watching anime for a long while now. Like at least I remember I was watching like Dragon Ball Z, and I saw Goten who's like 7, and like I remember thinking like I can't wait till I'm that old so I can be strong like that. But like even moving past that, like in middle school and stuff, I started watching a lot of I guess you'd say lesser known anime, and there's still a ton I haven't seen, not like especially compared to the normal person. But like there's a few that just really really hit me, that they make that impact where you just kind of remember them way on down the road. And for me, one of those series was Major, and I was trying to think like I was like I really want to make a video on this, but like I know no one's probably gonna watch it. But it's just such a good series where you get to people dismiss it because they're like, yeah, it's just another baseball show, but you get to follow the kid's life from the time he's 4 until the time that he's an adult himself, and not very many series do that. It's a very I'm not going to say it's an unpopular series even. Maybe I should. I don't know how to word it. It's one of those things where if you look at my anime list scores, it's very highly rated. Like it's not like underrated, but it's not well known. Like there's no legal way to access it. I don't know if it's in like licensing hell or whatever, but like it basically got a Boruto-like continuation that was licensed by Crunchyroll. They still don't have access to the original just because it's that hard to freaking get the license for it. So it's one of those things where people don't have access to it. They don't really know about it, so they haven't watched it. But it's definitely worth watching. So
I mean, I think sports animes are probably one of the most, like, sports anime and manga are some of the most underrated shonen out there. Like they're very easily accessible. They're not as and I was talking with one of my friends. To me, it feels like they're easier for women to get into as well, who don't like quite as much violence, but they enjoy the action and the battle sense. I think bringing up lesser known series that are still high quality like Major is super important to bring awareness and bringing shonen to more of a popular forefront with not only young boys but young girls, and getting them into manga and anime a little bit quicker possibly.
Oh, no doubt. And it's one of those things where I'm actually a little bit disappointed in how the industry has kind of gone about that over the years. Major in particular, half of it takes place in America. And there's also another series called Slam Dunk I grew up watching. Like I love Slam Dunk. It inspired a lot of basketball players. And neither one, like Major doesn't have a dub at all, right? And the Slam Dunk or the dub for Slam Dunk is like the worst dub I've probably ever heard ever. Like I watch a lot of dubs, but like I couldn't watch it. And seeing that like missed opportunity to like uh bring those shows over to an audience that I think would appreciate them probably even more than the Japanese audience would, then I don't know, like here in America, we're pretty dang big on sports. If you can show people a show that's that engaging on sports, I think you'd have like a lot of new anime fans that probably would enjoy it if they give it the chance.
I mean, absolutely. My biggest, the one that I point out the most is Ice Shield 21 was a huge failure over here in America. Like anime wise, it just was not that popular. And you'd think that a show about the most popular sport in America basically would have done well, and it flopped. And half of it, like you said, takes place in America.
It's weird because I don't know, maybe it's like basketball is my favorite sport, right? Like I grew up playing it, I love it, but like Slam Dunk is not my favorite sports series, and I'm almost like more critical of a lot of basketball shows than I am probably with other sports that I haven't gotten to experience myself. Like Kuroko, I like it as a shonen series. There's a lot of superpowers. It's very cool. But like as a basketball fan and stuff, it can be hard to get into at times. So there can be that element to it as well, I think. So whenever you see Ice Shield 21, I loved Ice Shield 21. It was a good show. Then you have those elements where they're like, it can be a little bit jarring when they're like, oh, I need to catch the ball, so I'm gonna put lipstick on my hand or whatever to try to help it stick better. Like they have those little like gags, whatever. And I actually have a guy I know and stuff that teaches in university and stuff that like that's like one of his favorite shows of all time. But like he likes to make fun of those little aspects of it.
Well, so. I mean, it's a gags. I'm gonna ask. I'm pretty sure I can guess what your favorite basketball team is, but who is your favorite basketball team?
The Oklahoma City Thunder.
It is the Thunder.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yes,
see,
sir.
I would have been thrown off by the nets on your head.
Oh, see, here's the thing. Like I used to love the Phoenix Suns and Dallas Mavericks. I still do. But I live here in Oklahoma, right? So like we got our sports team. I was all for supporting it. I started watching them from a time I was very young when they first came over here, and I've watched like a ton of games since. Big Thunder fan. But then the Nets, like especially once they became the Nets, they have such cool gear, you know? Like they have a cool mascot, they have a cool arena. Like I like the aesthetic of it.
Does that liking of the aesthetic actually play into how you choose what anime to watch, what manga to kind of flip through? Is the aesthetic portion of it as important for you in that as it is with your basketball gear?
Probably not. Like I don't know. I do enjoy fashion and stuff, so like I'll wear any NBA gear. Love basketball, but as far as aesthetics goes for anime and manga, I feel like if you limit yourself based on what's initially aesthetically appealing, you're going to miss out on a lot of probably good stories that are out there that don't have that that may not be as aesthetically pleasing to your eye at the very start. Like there's a lot of people that don't like the art for One Piece, or they things like that, and if they miss out on all of One Piece just because they don't like that art style at the start, like they're missing out, you know? Like,
I mean, I've said this a million times. One Piece's artwork is the weirdest looking out of the OG Big Three. It's the weirdest looking, but it's also the most fun and playful looking.
Yeah, he has a lot of fun with it. He plays around with it, and like once you're used to it, there's really nothing really. I don't know. Maybe I'm just desensitized to it. Like it looks fine to me, but I know a lot of people that like won't even give the series a try because of things like that. And
it looks too childish. I was like, make it to Marineford and tell me it's too childish. Then you make it there.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, it's ridiculous how people judge the art before they judge the story. Like,
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's all you can judge the book by its cover, but you won't know until you've actually read the book. And I don't know. I feel like that's why I try not to judge things based too much on the aesthetics. Like I haven't. First thing that just came to mind is a show I haven't even seen yet, but like I know it gets a lot of praise, and that's like Ping Pong, the animation. Like aesthetically, like It does not look like the standard anime, but like I've heard so many people praise it.
I mean, my
It's weird that
buddy
I thought of a show I haven't seen, but
my buddy Zach actually made a video. He's so pumped about ping pong coming over
Mhm.
to like being English translated as the manga itself. Like,
Right?
he made a whole video about it. He is so pumped. And I'm not gonna lie, if that makes him so excited, I might actually have to dip into the series and like
I,
see what it's about.
I've been meaning to check it out myself and stuff, but like I've also it's one of those things where when it first came out, you saw a lot of people just kind of like not even giving it a chance because of the way it looked or whatever. But it's so much different than the stereotypical anime or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, my wife straight up doesn't want to watch Mob Psycho because she thinks the artwork
It's
looks
another good
super
one.
weird. And
It's
Mob
another good
Psycho
one.
is baller. Like the first
One
and
of the
second season,
best.
it's
Oh.
dude, the fight scenes in the second season are so just trippy and visceral. You're like, okay,
Mhm.
this is amazing. Like I get shivers thinking about that anime. Like it's, I just get so excited.
It's one of those where like I kind of get it. Like you watch the first episode, it's very silly. The art style is so simple and one-esque, but man, I was sold as soon as episode 2 came around. You think he's gonna join that psychic club or whatever, and then all of a sudden he's like I don't care what my talents are. Like I want to get buff. I want to impress the girls. I want to be a Chad. Like I'm gonna start working out. I want to join the body fitness club. And as soon as like they threw that little loop in there, I had my interest. Like I just wanted to see how he matured. And it did not disappoint. Go watch Mob Psycho.
And this is, I will shamelessly plug Mob Psycho for anybody. I'm looking forward to season 3 because I think there's only going to be 3 seasons of the anime, from my understanding.
Based on the amount of source material and stuff, I think that sounds about right. So.
Which means that we are 2/3 the way through the series. This is the first series that I've watched from beginning to end, like as it's been released, and that makes me so happy. Like, I'm genuinely just like I want to figure out what the deal with the broccoli is. I want to, and for those of you that don't know, that's not even a spoiler. That's like you don't know what the broccoli is until you. What's the deal with the broccoli? You're like, why? Why is it there, dude? There are just so many good anime series coming out right now. Like with Tower of God, it's opening up a brand new doorway for how manga becomes an anime, how manhwa, how cartoons can become an anime. And I think this is going to be a megaton shift in the kind of content that we're going to be getting here.
Oh, no doubt. There's so many webtoons out there that like I haven't even explored, but just reading various web novels and things like that. There's so many stories out there. So seeing that spectrum of what types of source material can be adapted seeing that broaden is an exciting thing as an anime fan, no doubt.
My heart has started like increasing pace because somebody posted a photo on Twitter with The Breaker getting an English translation. Like the rumor is that The Breaker, one of my favorite like kung fu manhwa of all time, is getting an English manga, and I was like, oh no, does this mean what I think it's going to mean? Because if that happens and it becomes an anime, I will buy a theater to watch every single episode.
I haven't read The Breaker, so I don't know anything about it. But if it's kung fu, I don't know if it could live up to Kenichi. You know, like
see, I think it could do it, but in a different way. They're Kenichi versus The Breaker, completely different. The artwork, the stories, the storylines. They're so different that I actually think they could complement each other very well.
Okay, all right. See, that's the thing about exploring all these different mediums of source material and stuff is you're gonna get stories that are so differently just put together. And I don't know, like I said, that's a very exciting thing. So I'm excited to read or watch The Breaker if you praise it that highly.
I've read through the series 3 times. They're still waiting. The final part's still waiting to come out.
That's the worst.
It's the worst. And my wife was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to wait another year and a half for the next season of My Hero Academia." I was like, "Listen, babe, I've been waiting since like 2015 for part 3 of The Breaker, and they keep telling us every year, oh, we're working on it. And every year they just keep pushing it off because the author doesn't want to deal with it. I was like, either end it and kill my hopes and dreams so I don't have to live with this, or finish the story."
Old Spooks has been trying to get me to read Vagabond, and I love Slam Dunk, and it's the same author. And also, I've heard it's very reminiscent of stories like Vinland Saga and Berserk and whatnot. So, like, it has my interest 100%, but like, it doesn't have that conclusion to the story yet, and like, they don't know when the author is going to start working on it again. So, like, that can be such a deterrent for people starting a series as well. Like, when when I first caught up to Berserk, Guts was just getting on a boat, and it's been so
Ooh,
many years.
that has been a while. That has been a really long time,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
That's been almost 7 or 8 years minimum.
Yeah, I've reread it since then a few times and stuff, and it's definitely much better paced. Whenever you can binge it, and like the entire boat arc is very well paced. Blew my mind how well paced it was. But as it was coming out,
Felt so
I'm like
slow.
he was on a boat for literal years, dude. Oh man, it
Like
was.
if you when you reread Berserk, when you follow it for the first time, you're like, okay, this is this is whatever. Like the pacing feels a little weird just because of all the breaks that he takes. But then once you binge it all, you're like, okay, no, he has. I don't know how he's doing this. How he's taking year-long breaks, but still the pacing is perfect. Dude, it's absolutely crazy.
It blows my mind, honestly.
I'm actually absolutely terrified about the pacing for One Piece right now because he's saying it's supposed to end in the next 5 years. But I'm like, man, we spent 3.5 years in Dressrosa. How are you going to give us Wano, one more arc? Because he's going to have to do a cooldown arc like he does every single time between a huge arc and then the next one. So we have at least 2 more arcs to go, and you're telling me that Oda, you're going to get this done in 5 years? I don't believe you.
It's not necessarily about believing him. I think it's one of those things where, as a content creator, have you ever started a video and you're like, I could probably get this done in 2 days, and then like it takes like a week or something like that? It's like that. Like I feel like that happens all the time with mangaka trying to predict how much longer they have to go, and then it always ends up being way longer. Like literally, if you go back and look at the history of interviews on like so many different arcs, be it the Chunin exams or the freaking My Hero Academia, various arcs are like, yeah, I should probably go for like this long, and then it's like half of that, or not half that. It's like twice that long. Like just trying to get through it all.
So hopefully Oda ends the series. Hopefully the series is ended before I turn 40. That way I can just read it with my kids as a bedtime story. It's like 1 chapter every single night.
Exactly.
Oh
That's the dream.
If I'm ever lucky enough to have kids, that's gonna I will read them Harry Potter and One Piece side by side. That's it. That's what's gonna happen.
That's what I saw. I saw a meme on Twitter the other day where somebody was like, it was something to do with like the face of like an old person. They're like, this is gonna be, or they were crying. That was it. It was an old person crying, and they're like, this is gonna be me when I tell my kids the story of how One Piece or Luffy became the Pirate King. And I'm like, why would you tell them how it happened? That's spoilers. Just let them experience it. Like they'll get to binge it. Oh, lucky dogs.
They get to binge it. They can read it like once
all the way through.
Oh my god.
Oh.
I would actually, I would total recall my brain just so I could experience One Piece for the first time 100%. Again. Like, oh my, now I'm just sad that I can't experience that. Just read the adventure all the way through. Maybe by that time they'll have created like One Piece movies where each arc is actually just a movie, so you can binge like 12 movies in a row. Oh my god, I'm just getting excited that I'm happy that might happen, but I'm also upset that I don't get to experience that.
I do have a little bit of a bone to pick up with you about One Piece though. I heard a little bit of your interview with the O'Hara. I haven't finished it yet.
Oh no.
What's with the hate on the Foxy arc, man? Foxy brought us so many brilliant things. It brought us Afro Luffy.
Okay, so
can you imagine One Piece without Afro Luffy? It's not One Piece anymore. Like,
Afro Luffy is the best thing to come out of the Foxy arc. The only good thing to come out of the Foxy arc.
The best thing to come out of One Piece.
I will give you Afro Luffy, but man, there's just something about the way that Oda played that arc. It didn't feel like he was writing it for himself. It felt like he was trying to set up something in the future, which is an absolutely massive theory right now. That's how Shanks and Luffy are going to end up fighting, is with what happened during... this is spoilers without spoilers. I don't know how I can say this properly, but that's how they think that Shanks and Luffy are actually going to battle. They're going to do something...
like a theory.
Exactly. I was like, okay, that makes more sense that you're kind of introducing it back then and it's going to happen now, but why did it have to be Foxy of all people? I hated his whole... there was no one entertaining on his crew. No one. I just wanted to punch every single one of them in the face.
Besides Foxy himself.
What was his... Was his the Marrow Marrow? The slow beam?
I believe so, the slow beam,
yeah.
Yep.
Dude, that was... his attacks were slightly inventive, but
an OP power, and not only that, but I just want to point out, it is canon. It's not like an anime. I know the anime dragged it out, but it's canon for a reason. It'll come back. Trust me.
Oh my god.
Trust. And then the fact that it happened all the way back before even Ennis Lobby, that's what's gonna make whatever happens amazing. It's all gonna build up.
Oda builds so much just like random things that he calls back to in his stories. But the one thing that I've noticed that we have literally zero information. We have more information about the Void Century than we do Vegapunk. Have you noticed that?
Vegapunk.
And we've known about Vegapunk since we've known about the Void Century. They were introduced at almost the same time.
It's one of those things where I think Vegapunk goes hand in hand with a lot of the specifics of the world, because he's a scientist, right? So he has all this knowledge and whatnot. So like I feel like there's going to be something special where we maybe not like special where we just go into him, but like I feel like it's going to play a bigger role, and there's a reason it hasn't really been explored yet, because he doesn't want us to know that information just yet. Like,
no, and that's the thing. Like I said,
yeah.
I think that somehow, and I told O'Hara a little bit about this, that I think that Vegapunk is somehow tied to the Void Century. I think he is. The fact that we've known about them for they were introduced in the same arc, I believe, even.
I'm trying to think of like when I first heard about Vegapunk, because I think back to Thriller Bark, but was he introduced before that, or
he was the ideas of Vegapunk were introduced before Thriller Bark. They were introduced before Innis Lobby. It was in Alabasta when we discovered the first poneglyph, because the Dutch Hound bazooka. That's exactly. Dude, think about that.
And we got Neptune and Pluton and all those things as well. And
I think Vegapunk is tied into the Void Century somehow, some way. Vegapunk is he's part of that.
But here's the thing: sometimes mystery is so much more intriguing than any amount of like facts can be. So like the fact that we don't know what the Will of D necessarily is, we don't know necessarily what the Void Century is, we don't know much about Vegapunk. There's so many things in the world that haven't been elaborated upon, and he has us hooked. We want to know more. We want to know more about the world, and as like we try to learn those things, we learn so many other things about the world. And he has the best world building in any medium I've ever experienced.
Dude,
any story ever.
I said it in my video on Thursday, and I said it in my One Piece Oda's Fatal Flaw video, but I think Oda will go down as one of the greatest fiction authors of our time. If not, he will be. I think he will be in the top 5 of our time, if not of all time.
He is up there. Like the amount of consistency to do what he does, to build a world like he does, to craft. People thought Dragon Ball was the pinnacle. I thought it was never going to be another. Now One Piece not only overthrew that, but like literally with the declining birth rates in Japan, like literally they're saying there'll never be. It'll probably happen eventually, like just because of various factors that we can talk about here in a bit. But like there'll never probably be another One Piece. Like they might eventually, but like I don't know. Odds are.
I think the way that the industry is going, I think One Piece is the last of a dying breed.
It is in a way. It's one of those where the story has limitless potential, and they just kind of one, they want it to be long, but like two, he has all the time in the world to explore those concepts and ideas and worlds that he wants to explore. The island thing makes it to where he's not really limited on each one, because each one's so different from another. He has so many different types of stories. If he wants one to be like Wano/feudal Japan, one in like the desert, like there's so many different avenues he can explore.
He picks and pulls from history just to build his islands, his individual. Like, he even kind of makes fun of it. Like with Alabasta, you're in a desert on Little Garden, Sky Island, Little Garden. Every single world feels unique. It feels lived in. It feels like you're getting there, and it's not the world is appearing around, the pirates. The main character. It's the world is there, and the main character is experiencing it. You're getting to see it with them for the first time. They're just as shocked when they see an island being exploded by lightning as we are. They're like, "Oh, what the hell is that?"
Exactly. It's all about the journey, and I don't know. There's something about me that loves that, and I guess you could say that like Demon Slayer passed up One Piece in sales there for like a little bit, but it's one of those things where that has to do with the climate of how the anime industry has changed and how they do it more of a seasonal style now. And whenever you have a high quality seasonal show that ups things like Demon Slayer did, brings in a lot of new fans. Like the Demon Slayer manga was nowhere near One Piece and stuff up until there was a little bit of a boom right after the anime ended, and then everybody goes over to the manga, and then the sales boomed. And like that, I don't really count that as it passing up One Piece. So like that's like the one area where you could say it might be passed up, but
even
and
even
just
then, it's the fact that Oda sent out like a message. He was like, "Oh, congratulations on passing me in sales this one time." I was like,
this one
"Whoa!"
time, yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, "All right, Oda, you might want to back down a
That's
little
what I'm
bit."
saying. Like, it's not. There'll never be another One Piece. There might be
It's
one day because time is pretty much infinite. But
dude,
man,
One
not in
Piece
our lifetime.
is
There
the
won't be.
top selling manga of all time, and it is
Mhm.
number 3 on the list right now for comics. Like it is. Think about how nuts that is.
Mhm.
It's up there with Batman and Superman. Like it beat
Mhm.
out Spider-Man. It's
I
beaten
never
out.
understood the appeal of Superman. Maybe that's just me. I never got into Superman out of all the superheroes. I
I
don't.
think I can understand the appeal of him. He's
Batman was my jam. I could go with Batman, but
Batman's a baller, but I think with Superman, if you're trying to look at him from a creative standpoint, it's hard to do a lot of unique stories with him. But what you can do, the stories written well about Superman are about his fall from grace and his eventual rise to being back to where he was. It's
yeah, yeah.
showing that even if you're not human, you can have human qualities. You can still be,
Faults, yeah.
you know, you can still, even if you're a god, and that's the difference between DC and Marvel. DC is gods wanting to be humans, and Marvel is humans wanting to be gods.
Hmm.
But each one
Oh man,
has
that's such an interesting way to look at it.
kind of a flipped, like with Thor is actually a god, whereas Batman is actually a human. But take a
Hmm.
look at the rest of the like Marvel characters. They're all humans that just are trying to become
Trying to
gods
reach
in their own
above,
right. Exactly. Whereas
like a Tony Stark or a man, Spider
Mr.
Man, all that.
Fantastic, all that with DC, you have, Superman, you have the Flash. The Flash can run so fast he can go through time willy nilly. He can
Hmm.
run faster than light. That's nuts. Like,
You have the
and
freaking Ghost Rider and things like that, right?
yeah, Ghost Rider is Marvel.
Or even that Marvel.
That's
Okay,
Marvel.
yeah,
Yeah,
I get so twisted and turned. I'm probably not the guy to talk to about some of that stuff. As far as I'm going to sound like an idiot when I'm trying to.
dude, I've never actually read. I don't actually read the comics, American comics, but I will
Hmm.
listen to the videos that talk about the books. Because for
Right.
me, the reason why I got into manga is American comics are very hard for me to like read and
Hmm.
comprehend. There's so much color, so much going on, and
Hmm.
all of that in my brain, it just doesn't process well, and it actually like I can't read them. Like I look at them like, oh, this looks
Hmm.
really cool, but my brain just doesn't process what's going on. Whereas with manga, that reduction of color is such an
You think it
important.
helps?
It helps me. It personally helps me, which is why some manhwa are a little bit harder to read,
Hmm.
webtoons, because they're colored, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I can get into this. I got into the black and white instead of the color.
That's an interesting way to look at it. I never thought of it that way. Like I always thought just the color was well, one. I guess it's a very important stylistic choice depending on the series, but like for the most part, like I always thought it was just to reduce the price of making it. You got pen and paper, so it's one of those things where it doesn't cost much to buy manga, especially in Japan. It's accessible to everybody, like
And I think that's a big reason why it was done. But like I said, for me, thankfully,
yeah,
I
yeah.
discovered manga because I remember sitting on the floor in the library reading my very first volume
Mhm.
of Dragon Ball. Not even Dragon Ball Z, like the OG tall volumes of
Mhm.
Dragon Ball. I just sit
Yeah,
there and
yeah.
flip through those things. And granted, there were some very not good for like 6 and 7 year old things in there,
Yeah, yeah.
but
All Master Roshi.
oh,
Uh,
Master Roshi and Bulma interactions are creepy as all hell.
it doesn't age well. That's for
It
sure.
ages so poorly. But I'm also
Uh,
going out of my way, instead of buying the Dragon Ball Reds, I'm going
mhm.
to buy the OG Dragon Ball like large ones right now to finish off my collections.
I respect it. And whenever you said like the black and white thing and stuff about how that's like your appeal to it, the first thing I thought of was the manga that like takes advantage of that black and white landscape. And Berserk, it capitalizes on that so much to where it almost doesn't even seem like the same whenever like that's why like that's one of the main reasons I think it hasn't really had a good adaptation is because Mira's just so good about working with the black and white contrast that he has. Like,
He does it so well. If they were to do a black and white Berserk, I think that would be nuts.
oh, that would be insane. But it's not just that; it's just the amount of detail, the amount of I don't know. I wanted to get a good adaptation someday, but '90s wasn't bad as far as capturing the quiet moments of the Golden Age arc, and then the movies
Oh,
capitalized on a few of the action scenes, a little bit of the Golden Age arc.
That Golden Age arc is hard to do. That hellscape scene is so hard to capture properly.
Oh, I can imagine. I hated how they did it in the movies though. Like literally the amount of comments and stuff you see saying, like I don't want to spoil it, stuff for Berserk or whatever. But all right, Casca, you know her.
Yes.
So we know what happens to her.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
like the amount of comments saying like, "Oh, she enjoyed that" or whatever, and it's just because of the way they portrayed it. I went back and rewatched it like after I saw that, and it's because like it's the way they portrayed it like in the movies. Like,
yeah,
you can kind of see that stuff, but like you go and read the comics, no, like
it's bad. It's
disturbing.
bad.
It's
like,
disturbing. Like,
do not read Berserk if you have like
any
sensitivities towards anything.
Exactly.
Like, it's not a fun.
It's not for the faint of heart.
It is. Dude, that entire series is just dark and grim. But I think there's a series that actually did a transition from okay, so I always gush about this one scene in One Piece as being probably the best animated scene I've ever seen in my life, and that was the punch. The punch on Sabaody.
I know what you're talking. You just said the punch, and I knew what you were talking about.
Like all that you say is the punch from One Piece, and everyone's like, okay, it's at the top of every list, but the way that it's done is just beautiful. I think anime
build up to it, and then just the stylistic of it as a whole was beautiful.
There's that. Have you ever watched Hajime no Ippo?
I have watched it a few times, and I've also read every chapter. Like I love Ippo.
Okay,
this is one of my favorite series of all time. Yeah.
You're on the boat with me. You are on.
I am on the boat.
You're on the boat. Okay, so I don't have to sell you on anything. That means you know the greatness of Morikawa.
Yeah, he is one of my. Ippo is one of my top 5 manga all time. Like it's up there.
Dude, I've reread it 4 times, hands down.
I've been meaning to reread it, but it's more chapters than One Piece. It's so hard to get around to rereading it.
So okay, I've cheated after I reread it twice. I have cheated and I skipped the Itagaki stuff because I really just don't like Itagaki.
What? I can see how it would be like one immersion breaking, two like.
It's so for me. If Itagaki was written, he's not a bad character. He's not a bad supporting character per se, but he doesn't feel like his struggle is as good as Takamura, as Kimura Aoki, as Ippo.
All those guys we knew from the beginning.
Exactly, as Sendo.
Even Garamichi. Oh, I miss Garamichi.
Dude, Garamichi, Nail, Hammer Nail. Oh, dude, Nail was that was the most heartbreaking fight because he wants to go say hi to Ippo, and Ippo's just like, nah, I just destroyed him. Dude, and the sound design for the anime is probably some of the best sound design out there.
Oh, no doubt. And it's one of those things where it adapted so well into an anime. I'm kind of sad like they haven't adapted more of it because whenever you're reading it, there's 1,000 and something chapters, but like there's so many chapters where Morikawa might only do like 9 to 15 pages or whatever, and it's all just punches being thrown or whatever. So like you could probably, if you put that in animated format and stuff, they've done some amazing things with it. Even back then, the Madhouse did amazing with it.
Dude, it was just so well done. But the reason why I thought of Ippo when I said when we were talking about the punch with One Piece is if you're caught up with the chapters, that means you know about the slap, the monster slap from him. Oh, where he goes all crazy demon eyes and just literally knocks a motherfucker out with just one big old bare Ippo palm. I was like, dude, that was terrifying.
Oh man, that and I don't want to spoil anything stuff because I literally did spoil something for Briggs and I regret it because he hasn't read it. I did like 3 or 4 years back when it first happened, and I'm like, I think I did it for Briggs and Spooks.
Which fight? You don't need to tell me what happens. Just which fight?
I thought the series was gonna end there.
Okay.
It was one of those where they thought like that. They thought that the internal monologue of Ippo that was happening was George speaking to the fans. Like about how we thought the series was just going to end there. Like
after the fight with number 2. Okay, yeah, okay. I know exactly what you're talking about.
No, not the fight with number 2. It was
one after
that. Yeah.
Okay. I can agree to that. Okay. See, but that's the thing. The fact that we both know exactly what we're talking about shows, dude. All the fights. Morikawa was probably one of the best sports.
Each one is so impactful. And
the only one that gets anyone's ire from like the main fights is the Wally fight.
Wally, yeah. No, that's
even
true.
then it's fun. I like the Wally fight because it's fun and it's creative and it's different.
I don't know how they animate that, but no, George is definitely a master of like making every person. like half the time you don't even like you almost forget that you're cheering for Ippo just because of how much he builds up the characters that Ippo has to face. They're people. They have their own stories, and he does a great job of showing that in between each fight.
He focuses enough on both Ippo and on
Whoever
his
he's fighting.
opponents that you care about the fight. You never know if Ippo's going to win or lose. You always hope that he's going to win, but you're like, okay, if this guy wins, it's because he put just as much time and effort into Ippo. There's only one thing that has ever bothered me about Hajime no Ippo, and that is how everyone says that he's untalented when it comes to boxing. I'm like, man, you don't make
Very
it to
talented.
one. His punch power is, I think Sendo is more of a brawler, and he doesn't hold back like Ippo does. I think Ippo actually genuinely has a better punch than Sendo.
It's one of those things where Ippo is definitely a lot more what do you call it, fundamental in the way he does things. But looking at some of his early on fights, what was the name of the dude that like clinched a lot? That whenever people think of him, they that's what they think.
That
of.
was that was the weak
fight.
that was the weak guy. That was where Ippo did the 1-inch punch.
Yeah.
That was not weak. I'm not saying weak as in like a bad character, but he was genuinely physically not a good boxer. He had to rely purely on strategy.
He was a great boxer based on like the way he approached the entire sport. Like he could have won. He should have won that fight. Like if he didn't get greedy and want to go for that KO, he would have won that fight.
And then Ippo just gave him a glass jaw. He got payment by just pure glass jaw.
I'm saying Ippo has that. He's a hard hitter, but it's one of those things where looking back on that, you can't say Ippo's not a talented boxer because guys that were that good at boxing were literally scared. Even Date was scared to fight Ippo and stuff just based on what one punch can do if he is able to hit.
Dude,
there's not many guys that.
No, you don't become the best in the nation. You don't become like a top contender in the world by just hard work alone. You have to have some modicum of talent. That's what always has bothered me. And that's my biggest complaint about shonen is when they say that the protagonist doesn't have any talent, they're just they're untalented. I'm like, no,
most shonen they have some talent, but like Ippo is definitely not like a monster of talent like a Takamura or whatever, and like they make that compare and contrast a lot. But
that's because Takamura is a once in a generation
different breed. He's a different breed.
There's the only one in the world who could have put Takamura down would have been Hawk.
Oh, dude.
If Hawk had trained, Takamura would have been in trouble.
Man.
But Takamura just has this pure... He's an animal. He's a pure animal in the ring. And there's no one in Ippo's weight class who is comparable at all. Like,
I don't know if you watched I don't know if you watched like how much real boxing and stuff you watched. Like Takamura trying to conquer all those weight classes and stuff. He reminds me a lot of a Roy Jones Jr. type of guy.
I think that's almost what...
That's my favorite of all time.
I think that's what George is basing it off of, is...
But then you see a lot of parallels between Ippo and freaking Mike Tyson of all people. Like, I know Mike Tyson was a heavyweight and Ippo's a featherweight, but like, just people are scared of taking one of those punches because what it can do to them. It'll mess you up.
Dude,
and
Mike Tyson is coming back. Have you seen that? Mike Tyson.
I saw that.
I was like... Somebody's like, I can still take him. I was like, no, Mike Tyson is a different animal.
I saw him training and stuff, dude. And I'm like, no, like I heard somebody say that. I think it was my parents telling me that. And I was like, no, what are you talking? He's like 50 something. He smokes like a field of marijuana every day or whatever. Like, I don't know what he, like, I'm like, there's no way he's coming back. And then I saw some videos of him training. I'm like, oh shoot, he still has it. Like,
dude, that's the thing is Mayweather Jr. won't be able to ever come back. I mean, he won't be able to break. He's more technique than he is power. Power is something that you don't ever really lose. You don't forget the feeling of throwing that punch. Where technique is something that you have to keep honing and honing and honing. And once you stop and get lazy about it, you'll come back. And that's why, don't get me wrong, Floyd Mayweather is probably one of the most technically beautiful boxers of our time. He's so boring to watch in like his regular matches, but he's so technical.
I hated him. Like, I hated his personality in certain regards, but like
I wish he'd been.
I wish he'd been. I kind of. It's not what you want to see. Most box fans, you want to see them get in there and just clobber each other. But the fact that people just couldn't touch him, like there was something beautiful about that. Like
he was just so good. The only thing, my biggest complaint about Mayweather, other than his personality, obviously, is the fact that he did not want to take on Pacquiao when Pacquiao was in his prime. He waited until Pacquiao had retired to go, okay, now I'll fight him. Like, dude, if you're not facing Pacquiao when he was the king,
In
come on
his
now.
defense, like I don't know how a lot of it works and stuff, but like usually, I almost feel like the fighters aren't usually the ones deciding their matches and stuff. It's all there's a lot of politics involved. There's a lot of different associations of boxing and stuff, like all different
I
belts, WA, and all.
I can
And then
see
they
that,
also
but
have like, the managers choosing the matches and stuff based on what'll make money. So like whenever they did finally do that Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather fight, like they made bank on it. Like it's one of those things. Like
dude, I still would have loved to see that. I'm actually really intrigued by. Have you heard the news coming out of the strongman world? So I do a lot of competitive powerlifting and stuff like that.
oh yeah,
And now there are two competitive strongmen, the top in the world, Hafthor Bjornsson, who was the Mountain in Game of Thrones, and Eddie Hall, who was one of the world's
he's
strongest
a
men.
monster.
They're both like, hey, we're gonna have a boxing match, and they already have the date and everything
What?
set up. Yes,
They do?
yes,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Oh shoot.
And all that I'm
Oh,
hoping for is all that I want is one round. I don't want anything to go past one round. I just want these two guys to come out slugging at each other. Because Eddie Hall has straight up said,
what happened.
"I will rip your head off of your shoulders," and I was like, "Oh my god, it's gonna happen."
Being in fighting shape and being in lifting shape are two way different things. So I don't see it going like if they go past one round or maybe two, like it's gonna be like they're just gonna be dead. I bet.
Well, that's the thing is they both were athletes before this, so they know how to. They're giving themselves a year to train to get into conditioning shape for it. And Eddie Hall used to be
That's
a
fair.
national level swimmer. Like just naturally, he was a great swimmer. So his gas tank is actually decent.
Decent. Yeah, I just know like getting in fighting shape is one of the hardest things you can freaking do. But yeah, that's very. That'll be entertaining to watch. I want to see that so bad.
It's
Oh, you got me
figure.
hyped.
It's a 7-figure payday. Of course, it's going to be amazing.
Oh yeah, man. I saw this video of literally just Conor McGregor, and I forget who it was. It was like some NFL player, I think. That's
No,
just huge
it
lineman
was
type guy.
no. That was. I think it was Thor. I think it was Hafthor Bjornsson. Where Conor
No,
McGregor.
no,
Was it a different fight?
I think so. They were literally just in the gym sparring around, and like Conor McGregor, was like, "All right, yeah, come on, I'll fight you." Like they're just messing around, and you can tell like the big guy just gets tired after a little bit, and like he doesn't like know how to get him. Like the way that Conor just outmaneuvers him and stuff just shows how important it is to know what you're doing in the ring. Like because you get Conor McGregor, who's a little dude compared to an NFL lineman or whatever. And you tell them to fight each other, and like it didn't look like that guy even belonged in the same area as Conor.
The problem is, and you see this, and this is what bothers me about some manga and anime, like, the bigger character is usually so fat, like, oh, it's so surprising that he's fast. I'm like, that little guy should be so, if they're both trained to the same degree, the little guy should always be faster. Should. I'm not going to say always, but, dude.
Usually, but some big dudes can move, like, what's his name? The power lifter that, he's gay. He has like blue hair ish. I can't think of his name.
The world's strongest gay on Instagram.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
guy.
him. Like he has good footwork and stuff, and he can freaking like if you actually see him run and stuff, like he can book it and stuff. You see Shaquille O'Neal book it back in the day too. Like some big dudes can just move, and you don't even think about it.
My buddy and I were having a huge discussion about who the top 5 most dominant player, like the 5 best players in the NBA of all time were.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, if Shaq had stayed in shape, he would have gone down as top 5. But like once he got out of shape,
yeah, he was dominant in his prime. Like there was.
For me, it's obviously Jordan, Kobe, James, and then I throw in. It's a toss up between the. I do top 6 because you got Chamberlain. Not Chamberlain, Kareem, and then you have Larry Bird.
Larry Bird's up there too. It's so hard to like pick 5 because like positions are so important. I feel like too.
Oh, dude. But anyway, let's get back to the actual discussion about manga and anime.
No one wants to hear us talk about sports.
I mean it definitely ties back to manga and anime, but we'll talk about other things. So, when you create a video, what's your kind of workflow? Do you write a script out? Do you kind of go off the cuff? Do you do bullet points, and then do you already have your thumbnail? Like, what's your creative process like?
I always save the thumbnail for last since that's like my favorite thing to do. I have so many scripts I haven't used. Just like they either just don't come to fruition, they don't come out how I want them to use or come out or whatever. But basically, you just gotta. Once you have a little bit of inspiration for something, like something catches your eye, you want to talk about this or that or whatever. You just got to sit down and. You got me thinking about this a little bit towards the start of our conversation. Whenever you said, I'm trying to think of what you were saying. but basically you don't know how it's going to turn out whenever you first start out. Like whatever you have, what you picture about wanting to talk about in your head is usually way different than the ending script. I think you were saying you were talking about like an Oda video where you didn't know when as you were writing it and stuff which way you were even going to lean. But at half the time, that's what it is and stuff. You're sitting there, you got an idea or a concept that you want to explore. Like sometimes a bullet list. Like if I do a character analysis video, I might have a character and I'm like, all right, like I know very surface level stuff. Like like this is important, this is important, this is important, and I elaborate on those things and sometimes just the way that they end up flowing together is very surprising from how you would initially have thought about it once you do that research and whatnot. And I don't know. I'm probably rambling a lot now. I'm trying to think of but it's definitely very exciting to see how it all comes together. So,
how much research do you put in? Do you like spend hours upon hours researching, or is it just spending a couple, a little bit less time than that? I don't want to completely pull back the curtain behind your creative process, so you can still keep
it depends on the video. Because like the why you should watch videos and stuff. Like I might go back and rewatch the first episode or two of a show that I really liked as a kid, just to see like one, does it hold up or whatever, and two, what was like the feel of the show, like what was it like. But for the most part, like if I'm like that passionate about a show, I don't have to do much research, and it's more so trying to structure how I can sell the show without spoiling anything and whatnot. And
that's always
trying to wear all that out.
That's always the hard part, is not spoiling anything.
Right. It's sometimes some shows are just hard to sell without spoiling anything, and then so I usually like I do my best to limit that while also selling the show. And then you have like videos like character analysis videos where like I have this character and I want to like completely. The reason I haven't done very many of those, especially recently, is just because they take so long. What my process used to be is I would literally like say a silent voice. Like let's use that as an example. So like for a silent voice, I'd literally go through the manga. I would take out every page that had a picture of that character doing something significant, and then as I'm like writing and stuff and trying to look at the script, I would constantly reference through and read through every panel that they were in throughout the series, and try to see how it all fits together. Try to get an understanding of who they are as a person, as a character, and how it all kind of fits together. And there were times where like just trying to piece that together mentally. I would sit there and just thinking about like the character for like a day or two, or like just days, just of like if I shower, like if I'm showering, I'm thinking like, why is this guy like this? I actually used this example when I talked to Spooks last night. Mashibo is a character in particular where, he didn't get a lot of elaboration in the movie, the orange-haired dude, and at the very end of the series and stuff, he hates bullies throughout the entire thing, but at the very end of the series, he still falls for Kawaii. So I literally sat there for days just thinking like read through those panels, like why? Like I couldn't figure it out. Like I was trying to kind of rush out the video, but you ever just like sit there, you're like trying to piece together something with your brain, and you're like, it's just not clicking. And then finally towards the end of the video, I was like, yeah, like I just kind of admitted, I was like, yeah, I still don't really know why. Like
it makes no narrative sense, but I guess they did it anyway.
It kind of does make sense, kind of looking back on it and stuff. It's one of those things where Kawhi is one of those people that more so embodies. They all kind of embody their own little lessons and whatnot. And Kawhi is all about how to word it. You gotta love yourself, and you gotta be able to accept yourself, regardless of whatever faults you may have. And I feel like that was a very important lesson. And after like kind of looking at himself a little bit, I think there's aspects of that played into that. I don't know. I still don't completely understand it. I have to go back and reread it, but it makes a little bit more sense now than it did then. Like I just remember thinking about things like that for hours on end, just trying to piece it all together. So,
dude, and that's the beauty behind like the creative process. You learn more about the thing that you're talking about. You learn more about yourself as a creator because you're like, okay, well, I'm examining it and I'm getting this kind of point of view. Why am I getting that? And you really have to put yourself in a different, unique position for almost every single video that you do.
Oh, 100%.
Especially with the kind of content that, you create, which is more of an, I'm not going to call it essay narrative content, but that's kind of what it is. You're writing an essay on it, where there are some people who do pure discussions. There are some people who do rants. Each creative process is a little bit different. And I know that the hard part for me is I really enjoy watching those kinds of videos, and I
Mhm.
want to learn to make them, but I cannot write a script to save my life. Like Spooky's been helping me out a little bit. He's like, "Oh, here's some tips to write." I'm like, "Dude, when I was on speech team in high school, I
Mhm.
didn't even." They were like, "Oh, here's a little card that you can write down your points on." Dude, I didn't even take one of those. Like, you can have your 3 points written down on here and go through them. I just make the points up as I was talking about them, and it
Right.
was absolute like, and that's what I thrive off of. But I think that to really be a solid creator, to be the best you can be, exploring different avenues of creation and challenging yourself, seeing what
Mhm.
you're really good at is super super important.
I definitely think that's a great point to have because when I first started YouTube, I didn't know much about it and stuff. I just saw a lot of different cool stuff out there, and for the longest time, like I didn't have any consistent series on my channel. I'd make like this type of video, like a skit, and then this is an A and B, and then this is this. Like I've literally just I see a video that's really cool. I'm like, I want to try to make something like that. Like before I ever did character analysis videos and stuff, I saw a few videos from Alexander who does character analysis on like different Hunter x Hunter characters or Berserk, and like I just remember like that kind of inspired me a little bit, and I kind of made it my own. But like seeing things like that and just being like, oh man, I want to be able to do something like that is huge. Just in finding your own style and finding out what you want to do. So
Do you have any plans for taking what you're doing right now and pivoting it at any point in the future, especially with the scare that's kind of going on with the? And I know it doesn't necessarily seem like it's going to affect creators
mhm.
of what we do, but the anime reaction channels are going through the huge thing with Susie Liu. Are you worried that it's going to affect how your videos are made because you are using clips and stuff?
I'm honestly not too sure. I'll have to look into that. Who's Susie and what is she doing?
So apparently, she was taking full uncut episodes. She was reacting to full uncut episodes of anime, full
Hmm.
uncut, and she was not really being transformative about it. And then she was
Hmm.
selling memberships on her Patreon for like $1, but putting these videos up so people could watch basically everything fully uncut. And it's
Hmm.
created this huge issue and debacle as to, she was trying to claim that it was fair use when it in reality was not.
It's
And
not. Yeah,
so
it's a very gray area, but like fair use in general is, and reaction videos especially are a very gray area as far as copyright goes. I can see both sides, but I definitely almost see more of the company side of it.
And like I said, I'm friends with a few of the like reaction creators, and I
Mhm.
think that there are the ones who do it properly, the ones who straight up sit there and they actually analyze this like
Oh yeah.
the videos as they go. I think that's different than just sitting there going, "Oh, wow,"
Oh
and
my
not
god. Yeah,
pausing it
yeah.
at all. Like you're just sitting there like pausing it just so you can mess with the
Mhm.
algorithm a little bit. Oh no, going again.
No, I agree. I
Huh.
mean, I've done some reaction videos. Like I've touched on that. Like I've tried to. I didn't like reacting to things myself, and I actually had a few videos where I had my parents react just to try to, like, because they had no idea what they were reacting to. I thought that would just seem interesting and fun at the time, and it's one of those things where I do like whenever people put their own spin on it, and they're able to make it unique and interesting. One reactor I watch a lot is like the Semblance of Sanity brothers. I don't know if you know them a lot, but like they literally sit there and have like a 20-30 minute discussion after every single episode, it feels like. And I almost find that discussion of each episode more interesting than the episode itself half the time. Like, so I don't know. I know not every creator does that. Like not every
And
reactor does that. Like half the time it's like it's really just them like staring at the screen or something like that. So
I think that's going to be what we're going to see is a slight change in how
mhm.
clip videos are done in the future, just because of stuff like this. And what happens? Do you have a plan for creation if clip videos stop being viable?
uh I mean, you can still find a way to talk about whatever you want to talk about, be it with just still frame pictures, or if you just want to do like a face cam discussion. Because I could sit there and talk about half this stuff all day. I know teching
I
is
don't get it.
I don't
I don't understand teching.
dude, teching's a different breed. So like he can literally just like he sits there. There's very minimal cuts, and that's pure God given talent.
Dude,
I can't do that, but
I will be
uh,
honest, and I've told everyone that I've talked to this. Spooky was one of the first like anime creators, like anime tube
mhm,
creators that I ever watched. And I
mhm.
don't know what that man is on, but he does like with a 15-page chapter, he creates like 50-minute long videos discussing them, and then right now he's able to create unique, different One Piece videos like 3 to 4 times a week that are all 20+ minutes long, and he just doesn't ever seem to tire. Like,
dude, he's a freaking encyclopedia. I've only talked to him like once or twice, I think, and stuff. I don't really know him or anything, but like I love his content and literally just God-given talent. Like you name like, hey, when is Luffy's birthday? He'll probably tell you like, oh yeah, born at 3 p.m. on.
the only
like,
birthday that I genuinely know in One Piece is Chopper's. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know many of them. I know Pearl from Don Craig's crew. That's the only one I know.
You know what?
Because he has the same birthday as me. Ha.
And that's exactly why I know Chopper's. That's exactly why I know Chopper's. I'm like when I do videos based around, because his birthday is December. He's a Christmas Eve reindeer, which is definitely fitting for like an Oda thing. But it's so easy to remember. I'm like, it's my birthday and it's Chopper's birthday, and it makes me sound so much cooler. I definitely do not have a pair of Chopper socks that I wear constantly.
I wish I had Chopper's birthday instead of freaking Pearl. Like no one remembers Pearl. Like I thought he was kind of cool. Like he discombobulated Sanji once, but like
how he started fire by clicking 2 pearls together doesn't make any sense. But yeah,
no, it doesn't. But yeah, he was that one minor villain from the East Blue.
But dude, there's so many unique and interesting creators in the anime tube, in the manga tube. In fact, we should probably just call it otaku tube instead of, because anime tube makes it sound like you don't get to talk about one thing. We're an otaku tube, man. And there's so many interesting creators. Like you have, I don't know, like Nux and Tekking are their own breeds of insanity.
Oh, like, no doubt.
The videos that Nux kicks out, like he's so high energy in every single one. I'm like, dude, and he writes a script for every single one. Like he researches
my freaking mind, dude. Oh,
Tekking, I think just he reads it once and he has like an eidetic memory where he just remembers everything that he's ever done.
I'm saying Tekking is God-given talent, and he's also consistency as well. So like, I'm not trying to take that away from him.
No, he is literally he is the shonen protagonist. He has God-given talent and he works hard.
Exactly. But that's what I was about to say about Nux too and stuff. Is people say like, oh man, he hires editors and stuff, so it's not nearly as hard. But I'm like, because I've heard some people say that, but I'm like, man, try scripting, try audio is my least favorite part. Like the fact that he does as much audio as he does, and then organizing things between all those editors and collaboration projects and whatnot to try to manage a video a day, like as often as he does, like it literally blows my freaking mind. Like I don't know how he does it,
because he has to choose the editor. Like, and that's what people don't get about the creative process of like creating a script video with clips where you have an editor do it. You need to be able to trust your editors enough to put the right things in. You need to have a clear vision as to what they're going to do, and you need to make sure that their vision for what you're wanting lines up with yours. And they always, like Nux's always do. Just the amount of effort that goes into him making the videos is crazy. And with Tekking, you talk about consistency. Do you know how many videos my man has put out?
Dude,
I can tell you because I just looked it up because I was curious. He's put out 2,223 published videos, and he was one of the first creators. His very first videos, like when I first started like watching, I kind of looked back. Everyone thinks that he started off with Bleach. That's not true. His very first videos, if you go by the oldest date, is 10 years ago, talking about a medieval game review while he's sitting there playing it. Just like, my man has put in the work.
Dude, it blows my, like, yeah, he's put in the work, but then also, there's some stuff you just can't teach. And to be able to sit there, have as minimal cuts as, like, to be as narratively charismatic as he is, just to be able to speak on a topic and speak so knowledgeably about it. Like he's actually making sense with what he talks about. He's making it entertaining.
Absolutely. He like, I'm looking back at it right now. I think his very first Bleach discussion was 8 years ago. Like straight up. How crazy!
I think I started watching it because of Spooks and stuff. Because I remember Spook got tagged in a like make your own crew One Piece challenge by Tekking. And then Spooks tagged me, and I never did it. It still kind of haunts me to this day. But
I made one of the very first like videos that I made for YouTube was one of his what is it called? One of his challenge tag videos for make you who is a trader in My Hero Academia. And it seems like he does challenges like twice a year, like massive challenges.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I'm trying to see how many videos I have. My bad. I was trying to look and compare because I know I have less than 100. So like I'm trying to think of like comparing that to 2,000 or whatever. I don't even know how many I have, but it's like 60 or 70 something. And
I have a lot. Like I
that
have
are
I have if you take a look at my channel, I have roughly 211.
Jesus.
Well, part of that's because last year I would do weekly live streams. And
Mhm.
so that's one video. And then I did that for 20 odd weeks, 20 plus weeks, so that added up. And then I used to do chapter reactions. Like I was talking about Eden Zero when it first came out. I did that, and that was 30 right there. And I actually used to talk about Hinamaru Zuma, which is absolutely baller. The anime was good, but it wasn't as good as the manga.
Is that the
Sumo?
Not sumo. Okay,
It's a sumo one with the short guy. I feel connected to them personally because everyone thinks that I'm actually above 5'10", 5'11". I'm genuinely like 5'6", so I'm not that tall of a man. I could not play sports very well.
It's always hard to tell like how tall people actually are and stuff because then like
the camera adds 6 inches.
Think so? Like
I mean,
I never would have guessed. I would have never guessed Mother's Basement's like freaking 6'6" or 6'7" or whatever.
What?
So like, yeah. Like it's one of those things where you don't know by like the camera. Like I'm 6 foot, so like if there's ever like an anime YouTube like basketball pickup game, like I'm picking Mother's Basement first,
dude,
just for rebounds. Like
I'll be sitting on the bench. I'll just be tossing the ball into everybody. I can't shoot. I have no athletic ability. It's miserable. But we are getting near the end of our hour.
Gotcha.
And I ask 2 questions at the end of every single video. The first is, what's some advice that you would give to a new creator or somebody who's even wanting to dip their toes into the space of manga and anime creation?
I think the most important tip that like one I've ever gotten, and sometimes it's something you kind of learn over time, but 2, it's almost like a big misconception with it, is there's a lot of people that come in right away. They want to. I'm trying to think of how to word it. I think the most important thing is just to have fun with what you're doing. Like it's definitely a journey. It's not going to happen overnight, but you're not going to improve overnight. But you try to learn something new every day, and as long as you have fun with it, it doesn't even feel like a grind. Honestly, half the time you just gotta have fun with it, man. Like there's so many times where the times I've been least productive are the times like I almost forget to have fun with it. Like you almost start to treat it more like oh, I got to get this out or whatever. But if you're having fun with what you do and you pick something that you're passionate about, it makes it so much easier. So I think that's one of the biggest tips of advice I could get is like don't lose sight of that.
That's absolutely important. Number 2 is what anime would you recommend to people coming in? Like, hey, this is something that you have to watch like almost now.
Watch One Piece. I know it has, or what, if you don't want to watch it, read it. But like I know it has like so many chapters and whatnot, so people don't give it the time of day. But it's so good. I've seen a lot of people start it recently with the One Piece Virgin podcast going and quarantine happening all at the same time. But so I've seen a lot more people start it, but I still see a lot of people that just refuse to start it based on the length. But you're missing out. It's a great journey. It's not about catching up. You don't need to. If you don't get caught up for the next 2 decades, then that's fine. You're still enjoying a great journey as you go through it.
I mean, I've been waiting since I was 10, and I'm 26. Yeah. This is getting nuts.
Right, dude. When I first got up to One Piece, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of just the War of the Best is the arc I think I caught up to. And
see, that's the thing that's always confused me is I've always everyone calls that arc something just slightly different, like the War of the Best, Marineford.
Yeah. I didn't know what to call it. I was trying to think of what to call it.
I was like, oh god. Like recently, I've started calling it War of the Best just out of like I used to call it Marineford, now I'm calling it War of the Best. It's weird. Oda's ruined my brain with some of these things. But finally, this is the most important question. At the end of every single episode, I ask a random question, something to expand your mind, the audience's mind. Right. Last time, I asked which way somebody uses the toilet paper. Do they do forwards or backwards? And they answered the wrong way, so I'm never sure if I can have them back on. But
mine goes over.
no, yeah, like a normal human being. Like
Yeah, yeah.
genuinely, thank you.
I don't know how anybody else does it, but like that's how I've always
That's
done it.
the
Is
right way.
you roll it. Like,
That's the proper
you don't want to
way.
have to reach under and then like, yeah, this is too much trouble. You let gravity do it for you, right? Like,
Yeah, that's called intelligence and engineering, and that's
yeah.
the best way to do it. When you were in high school,
hmm
did you use a mechanical pencil or a wooden pencil?
Mainly wooden pencils, honestly. Like I know I started using mechanical pencils a little bit later, and I thought they were truly a godsend. For the most part, like I had a lot of regular pencils, and that's just what I used. And it wasn't until later where I like truly realized, like, man, like I appreciate the greatness of mechanical pencils, but like I feel like I always have more wooden pencils on hand for some reason. Call me old fashioned.
Interesting. I was always a mechanical pencil kind of guy because they were so much easier to use and like
Oh, they are. They're so much better.
like even the shitty mechanical pencils are better than the best wooden pencils.
You have to sharpen them, like
Oh,
yeah.
you just sit there, click them, and then you could also take them apart, create little bazookas,
Yep,
random things with them. So we are at the end of the episode. If you can let everyone know where to find you, what you kind of have coming up, that would be absolutely amazing.
Gotcha. Well, there's an Apex Boys tournament later on this afternoon. I don't. People aren't going to see it that soon, I don't think. But I stream a lot over on twitch.tv/theanimedude.yt. Sometimes I add a YT to the end of my name, but usually it's pretty consistent. Twitter, the Anime Dude. YouTube, the Anime Dude. Instagram, the Anime Dude YT. I'm on a lot of different things, but I try to be on Twitch like every day or every other day, and then I upload a lot of stuff onto YouTube as well. So a lot of stuff, not as much as the Holly here or teching or anything like that. But
Dude, teching, like I said, teching's a different monster. Like twice a week for me, I'm like, that's a lot, but
yeah.
You guys, everything that Jordan has mentioned will be down in the comments below. Remember, he is the Anime Dude. You can find him there. For everyone watching me, you already know where to find me. You already know where to listen. So subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube. Don't forget to check out my buddy Jordan over here. I actually pointed in the right direction for once. I'm super impressed with myself.
Hey.
And for everyone new and old, welcome and welcome back. It's your boy Lohali, and I will see you next video.